Good horror movies are few and far between these days, so I wanted to take some time to talk about my most anticipated horror movies of 2020. Because of the timing of this video, some of these movies are probably out, and you may have seen some of them, but I haven't yet, so I want to talk about them. I don't leave the house much, so I will be waiting for most of these movies to come out on rental, VOD, whatever, so that I can watch them from home. In no particular order, let's get into it. Up first is Men, directed by Alex Garland. This one is in theaters, I believe, and was released in May. I've seen some really back and forth reviews on this one that make me pretty curious about it. From the trailer, it looks pretty atmospheric and creepy, so I'm pretty excited to get the chance to see this one. I already get the ick just from the cover. It's listed as a horror sci-fi, but it gives off psychological horror vibes. And that's my favorite subgenre, so I'm pretty impatient with this one. Up next is Crimes of the Future, written and directed by David Cronenberg. Don't get me wrong, I am excited for this one, but I am just as equally afraid and nervous about it as well. I don't know if it's just good marketing for the movie or if it's true, but I've heard that a lot of people haven't been able to sit through it because of how gross it is, which very much could just be good marketing, but it's also him, so I'm more inclined to believe that it actually is nasty and people can't sit through it. I'm a pretty big fan of David Cronenberg. I haven't seen all of his filmography, but I think I've seen enough to realize that he's creative. I'll just say that. He's scary. The way his mind works is so strange, so I feel like that alone could warrant people not being able to sit through it. I don't know anybody else that does things the way that he does. I still get flashbacks to the gun stomach scene in Videodrome. So up next we have You Won't Be Alone, directed by Goran Stolevsky. I hope I'm saying that right. My boyfriend actually told me about this one, and I was pretty immediately intrigued. This film is already available to rent from home, so I really need to get on this one. I love movies about witches, shapeshifters, anything witchcrafty like that. I think they're really cool a lot of the time. Hopefully this one will hold up to that. On top of that, this is a period piece set in 19th century Macedonia, which is not something I've ever seen before. I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but the cover of this film is like actually terrifying. After I watched the trailer, I was pretty creeped out. I called my sister right away and told her all about it, so I need to get on this one for sure. If you've seen it, let me know what you think. Up next is the long-awaited Nope by Jordan Peele. This one is currently in theaters, so I do need to either go see it or wait till it comes. I'm really worried that I'm gonna get a spoiler for this one. So far, I don't really know much about it. I'm a really big fan of his and all the concepts that he brings to horror. I know he's a comedian, but I think that his ideas are very original, and I think that that's really cool. His execution isn't always perfect, but I think that nonetheless, his movies are enjoyable to watch regardless of that. He does a really good job at keeping the audience hooked, and I think that his casting choices are perfect. I'm a big fan of Daniel Kaluuya. I'm really excited to see him in this one, and Steven Yeun, and I think Keke Palmer is also in this one. His films have been psychological horrors in the past, and this one sounds a little bit different than that. The story kind of reminds me of some of the stories that I've heard about Skinwalker Ranch. I think there's a documentary on that also. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Next is Watcher, directed by Chloe Okino. I believe that this one is also available to rent at home. I've seen a lot of people talking about this one recently. This one's classified as a psychological thriller and gives me the same kind of vibes as Men after I watched the trailer, just in the sense that a young woman's dealing with a creepy dude. So I have pretty high hopes for this movie. It has a really high score on every platform, so I'm definitely curious to see if it holds up to that. Next, we have The Black Phone, directed by Scott Derrickson. This one's currently in theaters and it stars Ethan Hawke. I especially am interested in this film because the director has such an array of films that he's done. He seems to mainly stay in the horror genre with films like Sinister, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and Deliver Us from Evil, but he also directed Doctor Strange from 2016, so I feel like that's just really strange to have that thrown in the mix. So I'm pretty curious about this one. All of his films are so different from each other, so it makes me really curious about what this one's going to be like. It also holds a really high rating on all platforms, and right now that makes me excited for the future of horror. I think the concept is pretty refreshing and original, so I'm excited to see how this one is executed. Up next is a film that I stumbled on by happenstance when I was looking up new movies that were coming out this month. This is not one that I'd seen any marketing for, heard anything about, and I couldn't find much about it. It's called Hypochondriac, and it's by Addison Heyman. Hopefully I'm saying his last name right. It's a brand new LGBTQ plus horror about a Hispanic gay potter who slowly spirals into an obsession when his mother reappears into his life after 10 years. This release is set for July 29th. I haven't seen the trailer or anything, so I'm really just going off of the synopsis, which does interest me. I don't think there are enough gay horrors out there, so I'm pretty excited about that. It doesn't look like the film has a super big budget. I couldn't find anything about that specifically, so I guess that's just me assuming, but if it has a smaller budget, I am excited to see what they're able to do with that. It's really cool to be able to see how they get around that creatively, because I feel like some people do it really well, some people don't. So I'm excited to see how that one goes once it comes out. Next is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies by Helena Rain. This is an A24 film that has a release date of August 5th of this year. This one sparked my curiosity after seeing the synopsis because it does really closely resemble Game Night, if you've seen that, starring Jason Bateman. I haven't seen the trailer for this one, but just reading the synopsis, that's kind of the vibe I get. It's categorized as a horror comedy, and I'm pretty picky about that genre, so I guess we're gonna see how it goes. I'm a little bit hesitant about it, but it is A24, and I try to watch all of their movies because they're generally pretty good. Up next is The Menu, directed by Mark Mylod, starring Anya Taylor-Joy. At this point, I will watch anything that she's in. I literally don't care what it's about at all. I think she's a great actress. I haven't been disappointed yet. Again, though this one is classified as a dark comedy horror film, we'll see how it goes. Those are not typically my favorite, but I am curious about it. We have a ways to go, unfortunately, to be able to watch this one. I didn't realize that it actually has a release date of November 8th of this year. After watching the trailer and reading the synopsis, it seems kind of similar to The Platform and A Cure for Wellness. If you've seen those movies, I feel like you'll know what I'm talking about. It's obviously not a direct copy, but it gives off those same vibes. I am definitely excited to see it. Okay, saving the absolute best for last. We have Don't Worry Darling by Olivia Wilde, starring Harry Styles. If you know me, you know that I am a Harry Styles fan. And I feel like that is an understatement a little bit. It's a little bit of an obsession. I loved him in Dunkirk, and I'm really excited to see him break into the entertainment industry with more than just his music. Not that there's anything wrong with just his music, because I love every single album. I think the casting was immaculate, but again, I'm super biased. I love Florence Pugh, I love Olivia Wilde, and I absolutely love Harry Styles. So you can say that when this is released, I will be waiting outside the theater, and I will be the first one in, and I will get the seat I want, and if anybody talks, I will be calling the police. This one's classified as a psychological horror that's set in the 1950s, and it seems very atmospheric and unsettling from the trailer. If you've seen Vivarium, it slightly reminds me of that. Again, my judgment's going to be skewed. Once I see this, the review, I wouldn't take it seriously. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I love Harry Styles. He's the main character. I have not known peace since the trailer dropped, the teaser trailer, like months ago. Like, I've been waiting and thinking about this movie non-stop, so I cannot wait for it to come out. Since that dropped, I have not been able to stop walking around the house yelling. Anyway, those are my top 10 most anticipated horror movies that are going to be coming out within the next couple of months if they're not already out. I'm really curious to know if you have seen any of them, what your thoughts are, or if there are others that I missed that you maybe want to tell me about. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and definitely follow me on Letterboxd because I would love to know your opinions.
Preferred a different brand of beans. A different brand of beans. Different beans. Most popular popular beans. Different than the usual most popular brand of beans.